Good morning, bonjour, buenos dias. Welcome to the IICA-COLEACP Caribbean Agrifood Business Series number 4, Ensuring Food Quality and Safety in the Caribbean, the Key Role of SMEs and Businesses. I'm Ina HARVEY, IICA representative in Barbados and hemispheric specialist in agrotourism. I have the honor to co-host our session today with Isolina BOTO and her team. She is the head of networks and alliances at COLEACP and a dear friend and colleague with whom I've worked for over 20 years now. As part of the post-COVID-19 recovery process, IICA and COLEACP, with our regional and international partners, support a more resilient and greener agriculture and a strong agri-food business sector in the Caribbean, providing technical assistance, training, and business development for entrepreneurs. Every 2 months since June this year, the two organizations have been hosting Caribbean Agrifood Business Sessions centered on inspiring stories from successful entrepreneurs across a wide range of value chains, markets, and sectors. We also have views from experts in finance, technology, policy, and research. Today, we are pleased to bring you the 4th session. Our key topic, ensuring food quality and safety, is very important for IICA and COLEACP's work in supporting the agri-food sector through various programs, working with the public and private sector. It is critical that SMEs and businesses understand and implement food safety measures, even more so in a COVID context, as consumers are very concerned about health issues, traceability, authenticity, and aware of the consequences of foodborne related illnesses. SMEs can also capture high-value markets through more stringent food safety measures. While SPS and traceability are key features for export markets, it is also essential that the same standards be applied for local and regional markets. Having said this, it's not always easy for entrepreneurs to meet those standards due to capacity, cost, information constraints. We need to support entrepreneurs through access to finance, equipment, infrastructure, business skills, and partnerships to upgrade their capacities to deliver safe and healthy food to all. And in this context, we have today a very good panel of SMEs and experts who will share their experiences and insights on what works and what needs to be improved and how we can collaborate in support of SMEs. This will be my last session with you, as I will be retiring from IICA next Friday. I feel very proud of what we've been able to achieve with Isolina, Jeremy, Axel, Gaitan, and the COLEACP team over these past few months. We have a very full program today for the session, and without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Jeremy KNOPS, our Secretary General of COLEACP, to say a few words. Jeremy, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ina. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you from wherever you are, of course. Welcome, and thank you for being here to this 4th session that we're co-organizing with IICA. I won't be very long for these introductory remarks, but I just wanted to remind that for COLEACP, as a not-for-profit association, food safety topic has been of paramount importance. We've been able to work on this topic quite intensively for the past 20 years, thanks to the specific support of our donors, amongst which the organization of the ACP states, who's represented today by Escipión Oliveira Gomez, Assistant Secretary General, but also, of course, thanks to the support from the EU. We've been able to work on food safety thanks to programs. At the moment, in the Caribbean region, we have one major program which is active, the Fit for Market SPS, and we're very pleased, and this is the opportunity for me to say it, of course, that we'll have a new program which will officially launch in the coming weeks, Fit for Market Plus. Again, thanks to the support of the organization of the ACP states and the EU. And this will enable us to really continue to work with MSMEs, with competent authorities on food safety and other topics for the next 5 years, in collaboration, of course, with all major partners in the region, amongst which IICA, with whom we've, as Ina introduced, initiated this collaboration now in the context of COVID. Ina, special thank you to you. This was also the opportunity to say it at the start of this session. You mentioned it. It's your last one with us in your current capacity. So on behalf of the entire team on our side, thank you. Thank you for your work with us. You've been instrumental in setting up this collaboration, and we wish you, of course, all the best in your new life. And I'm sure our paths will cross each other again. So welcome again, everybody. I wish you all a very fruitful session. I'll be looking forward to listening to all of you. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, and thanks for the good news about the upcoming program. I now would like to give the floor to my good friend from long ago, Escipión Oliveira. Escipión is the assistant, hold on, let me get your title correctly. Sorry, Escipión. He's the Assistant Secretary General for the Structural Economic Transformation and Trade Unit of the OACPS. Escipión, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ina. For me, it's a real honor to be here today with so many friends. In fact, I was looking at the list of participants and I saw so many friends. So greetings from Brussels, where it's almost nightfall at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So for those that do not know what we are, the OACPS is the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States. We became an international organization in April 2020, and we derived from the ACP group, which is more known than us, and we were created via the Georgetown Agreement in 1975. We are proudly composed of 79 member states from Africa, the Caribbean, and the Pacific, under the leadership of our Secretary General, His Excellency, Mr. George Rebelo Pinto Chicote. We are promoting sustainable development and the gathered integration of our member states to the world economy, with the ultimate objective of eradicating poverty. In this quest for development, we partner a lot with friends like the European Union, like IICA, like the French Development Agency, like CAHFSA, that I saw that I was present here today with Russell Stewart and others. And we are really concentrating in youth and women-led enterprises as much as possible, especially because of the weight they have in households and others. We're implementing the things that will be presented here today, especially concerning Fit for Market SPS, this program that is very well run by COLEACP, and we recently had very good exchanges with Jeremy and his team. This is part of an overall OACPS EU private sector development strategy that seeks to promote an enabling environment, seeks to strengthen intermediary institutions. In this way, we have assisted several times Cross-Q and Indocal in the region. We seek to support directly enterprises, and we promote investment through various facilities in the Caribbean, mainly through the Caribbean Development Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank. So some of the things of access to finance can also be dealt with through these financial institutions. What we try to do and to promote this competitiveness is to share best practices, ensure market access, because a lot of us had a lot of hope when we signed the IPA, and we got a lot of market access, but we have almost no market presence or extra market presence. So we are now trying to fight to ensure that we have that market presence. The basis of all is trying to support our private sector, the people that actually create wealth, that feed our people, that employ our people. And for this, we need a lot of public-private sectors engagements, like to hit the one here with today, of which we're very proud. We believe that we're living on the unprecedented times, and we have to change the way we see development policies. We believe that our development policies have to be more human-centered, and we're working towards those, really favoring people in rural areas, protecting the environment. And we hope that this effort leads to greater social and economic inclusion by our people and to more prosperous, peaceful, and more fair societies. What we're going to be discussing here today is at the center of our actions, quality. In fact, Ina and I know each other from a long, long time ago, when I had hair and Ina looked exactly the same. And that time, Ina was one of the precursors of bringing HACCP to the Caribbean. In fact, the Dominican Republic has HACCP, among others, given CDE, old CDE, Center for Development of Enterprise, and people like Ina. So really working towards this, and COLEACP is also a very, very important project in promoter in this quest. We have several programs working in quality that were presented here today. We have other ones coming up, for example, with UNIDO, and we will be fostering legislative reforms, improving the business climate, promoting adoption of standards. In this case, CrossQ is really doing a great job together with INDOCAL and supported by IICA and COLEACP. We try to improve market access and ensure a better technical capacity of our people. We believe that these actions, like the things we'll be discussing here today, would make our companies more competitive, but it would also guarantee that we have better products available to our own consumers in our countries. I myself lived in a world where we used to drink milk directly from the cow. Nowadays, we have to pasteurize it, and it has some good things, but I also miss the old times. So the work that we're doing here today will definitely support the competitiveness of our companies, but again, we hope that it also supports the well-being of our people. I don't want to be too long, but I want just to say that I really wanted to thank Ina for her service. I didn't know that in Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados you retired at 33, but it seems that is the case. I wanted to thank also other people that have worked in this quest for development and this quest for really attaining a better industry in our regions. COLEACP, IICA, again, the French Development Agency that's partnering with us here, CAVA, with Basil Stewart, CrossQ INDOCAL, Caribbean Export, and through them, thank Mr. Theodora Maharaj and Leonel Naud, who will now run the agency. And of course, definitely the International Trade Center with Pamela Cook-Hamilton, my old boss, that is also seeking out for the welfare of the region. Having said this, the OACPS is at your entire disposal in Brussels, and we really look forward to continue the good work. Ina will be dearly missed, but well, I suppose we will all have to retire one moment or another, but the service that she has provided over these years will not be forgotten. So thank you, Ina. Sorry for this personal touch. I also wanted to thank Jeremy and Isolina, because since I arrived in Brussels, they have been really people that have supported the OACPS and supported everything that we're trying to do to support you. The main message I want to give you is the OACPS is your institution. Please use us at your service in Brussels with a lot of different institutions working with us and in partnership with the European Union. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Escipión, and thanks for all of the good wishes also. Through this partnership that IICA has with COLEACP, we have achieved not only Caribbean reach, but global reach. And this, I think, is the most exciting aspect of this partnership. Today, we have over 15 African countries joining us: Kenya, Congo, Cote d'Ivoire, Madagascar. We even have Reunion, Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, Togo. We have the Caribbean also, from Jamaica and Belize right down to Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago. You've heard Jeremy and Escipión speak about all of the help that is out there for us. And I think this is so exciting. Again, we have a full program today. I don't want to delay anything, so I'm going to go ahead to introduce our panelists. And we have three amazing women. Rita HILTON, Managing Director of Carita, Jamaica Limited. Rita is a lady who is multicultural, born in Kenya with Kenyan and Jamaican heritage. After 20 years of teaching in Jamaica, she founded Carita, Jamaica Limited. She's made a name for her company in the export industry in Jamaica and globally, mastering the process of global systems, global food supply systems. She's an exporter of fresh food as well as processed foods. She has won many export awards, named Best Import-Export Company in 2018 at the Business Excellence Forum Award. Rita is passionate about rural communities and entrepreneurship, and she's branched out into industry of product development and innovation. Rita, the floor is yours. I'll give you 10 minutes. I'm going to take off my camera and turn it back on when we're near the time. Please go ahead and welcome.
Unmute, Rita. Unmute, please. Unmute. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Ina, for that introduction.
I think that is Tania's presentation.
Yes, that's mine.
I think Tania was
Sorry,
the first
Tania
speaker.
was before. Oh, my bad,
Yes.
my bad. You have it lined up like that? Well,
Yes.
let me introduce all three people, and then
Yes.
Axel, sorry about that, boo-boo. Tania, my sister from Suriname. Tania LIEUW-A-SOE grew up as the daughter of an agriculturist and a poultry farmer, and she's been an entrepreneur since 1990. In 2004, she founded SURIVIT, a company which produces juices from organic exotic fruits. She supplies hotels, restaurants, catering companies. As the CEO of a company, she strives to contribute to sustainable food and nutrition security, economic growth, value chain development, and promotion and employment opportunities in Suriname, with a specific focus on rural women. She's the founder and president of the first women's agriculture cooperative in Suriname, LIEUW-A-SOE. And I was actually on a boat with Tania not so long ago, going downriver to visit the Saramaccan women to see how they grow and process cassava. This cooperative has 38 members, and women are in it with the same passion for production and processing and making indigenous foods. Our third presenter is Theophilia STOUTE. Still on a cassava theme, Theophilia is from St. Lucia, lives in Barbados, and she's the founder and managing director of OACPS Incorporated, a Barbadian family-run agro-processing company which manufactures gluten-free products. OACPS has developed a brand of products, including flour from sweet potato, cassava, breadfruit, and coconut, as an alternative to wheat and gluten-filled meals. They also produce virgin coconut oil, which I use every week. All products are all natural, additive-free, and OACPS products help to develop and maintain a healthier lifestyle. They received the Best Booth Award at the 2013 Barbados Manufacturers Association exhibition and the Minister's Award for Innovation and Technology during Small Business Week. So without any further ado, Tania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Sister Ina. Can I share my screen?
Sure,
Hello?
please go ahead.
Let me see. Okay. You see it? Oh, yes. Okay. Good morning to you all. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the fact that we are being amongst the chosen ones. I do appreciate that our efforts and our work is being acknowledged. In a nutshell, I will try to introduce myself, what we do, where we come from, how we started, and what is next in the future for us. As Ina said it so nicely, my name is Tania LIEUW-A-SOE. I'm the chair of the Women Agriculture Cooperative in Suriname, LIEUW-A-SOE, translated as We, the Women of Suriname. Our belief is that, and we strongly believe this, is that rural women economics empowerment can heal the world. They complete the elusive development cycle. They create, they nurture, and transform. They are the true insurers of food security. The sooner the world acknowledges this reality, the better it will be for our world. And that is definitely our strong belief. Our dream all started in a small village, a kind of forgotten village by the name of Kapasikele. This is the village that Ina just mentioned, and where we found sincere, hard-working women that literally feed the world. Our cooperative consists of 38 women. You see some of them on the pictures. And we started in 2013 with our cooperative from a bottom-up approach in a time of great need and economic crisis in Suriname, where everybody believed that you cannot accomplish growth without money or without support from the government, and we proved differently. We participated in a lot of training, all trainings that you can think about, all activities that came along, and we tried with our own knowledge and our own way of thinking and support within the cooperative to develop and structure and strengthen the value chain of a very ancient porridge, which we know by the name of kokori. And this is a cassava porridge that was being produced by the Emmer Indians, and it's a kind of cassava block that is being smoked for 2 weeks to preserve their weaning child food. And what we did after actually 46 years of independence, we can say that we are a company that is now producing weaning child food that meets the Codex Alimentarius standards. I will not go into details about that because it's a long story, but it is a fact that we established that. We were not able to accomplish all of this without strategic partners, and further down in my presentation, you will see the logos of these strategic partners, and I can tell you that the support that we've got and was tremendously, but getting the support is one, fulfilling what the support is offering, that is on our part, and we definitely used every opportunity and every support we've got. So we are strongly believers in strategic partnerships. All these efforts led us to sustainable income for the women, and that is what we believe in. That is what our company stands for. We see the sustainable income as a vehicle and a tool to reach and to accomplish the impact that we want to accomplish. And this sustainable income is being maintained by the export that we were able to establish in 2018, from 2018 on. LIEUW-A-SOE Suriname has established their own process company by the name of SURIVIT NV, and it's a social enterprise in an inclusive business model. The company produces high quality end products with a special focus on taste, health, and food safety. SURIVIT NV believes that the robust economic development in the interior of Suriname should come from the establishment of private businesses that deliver sustainable and profitable high-value end products, whilst directly and tangibly improving the health, living, and income standards of the population. SURIVIT in that regard is a pioneering social enterprise in Suriname, which is turning dreams into reality. The company is meaningfully employing women while educating and empowering them to learn all aspects of producing, value-adding, food safety, marketing, and distribution of their healthy products to the masses. I forgot to turn my slides on. This is our company. You see a picture of our brand new processing facility. And our mission is economically empowerment of rural women by sustainably grow, process, market, and deliver high value end products, leading to improved social and economic standards of living to the women and their communities and the environment as a whole. Our purpose is to be Suriname's most successful, ethical, collaborative, and customer-focused social enterprise with an inclusive business model. And I emphasize the inclusive business model because that gives all the women who are part from in the actually the global value chain, the opportunity to grow and to be strengthened. Our values are gender equality. We advocate for a world that values women and men as equal, which will be safer and healthier. And we claim a seat at the table of full participation in decision-making processes which impact women directly. We are very passionate about our entrepreneurial skills. We are passionate about educating and strengthening these skills of the women and supporting their income-generating activities. We strongly believe that through joint efforts and hard work, we can have a positive impact on the world around us. We do this by continually investing in our members, communities, and environment, and by supporting their well-being, future, and welfare through capacity building and creation of valuable jobs. We strongly believe in partnerships and in a win-win relation. We strive to create long-term, meaningful, and mutual beneficial relationships with our members, our suppliers, our customers, and employees. We demonstrate that through mutual respect, we contribute towards a positive and different world for us all. Safety of our workers and our customers are our priority. On your left side upper picture, you see the products that we are processing, and the other pictures give you a slightly idea of the inside of our processing facility. These are the products that we produce. It all started with a small brown girl on your right-hand side. This is kokori, the cassava porridge. We have several flavors now. We have the cassava pancake flour mix, which is our cash cow that have to generate income from export. And I chose a picture with a hand of a lady. And I really want you all to look at this hand. This hand is literally feeding the world. And we often forget that. But these are the hands that we need to strengthen and to empower to continuously create a better world and to keep on feeding the world. We have our own brand because we want to be known by the DNA of our brand, and our brand stands for our people strategy. Our people, our planet, and prosperity is as the heart and the DNA of our brand. You see the brand, the company logo is SURIVIT, and our cooperative logo, that is the women tree. Here you see the logos of our strategic partners. Because of the time, I will not go into details, but each and every one of them contributed to our success that we are having today. And I can tell you, we were founded actually by the IICA in 2013. We were selected to participate in the seed cap, and that is how it all started. In 2015, the IDB literally found us and asked us for a tour in the interior with an investor from Japan. And at that point, they were sold when they saw the activities that we were doing from a bottom-up approach, and they supported us with a tremendous technical cooperation fund, which led to our facility. Yes, I see Ina, her lovely face, so I will only speak on the last part. Where are we now? We are now in the part that we are establishing or getting our certification for FSSC 22000, that is on food safety, global gap, and rainforest alliances.
Wow.
These are certifications we must be able to get through the audit in August 2022, so we are now in fully process, and it will put our traceability systems in place, our health and safety aspects will be better managed. We constantly work on HACCP and good manufacturing practices and training for our women. But I want to emphasize that all these systems do exclude accidents, but they do not limit no, they exclude excellence, but help to limit consequences. And they are very important to be able to enter those markets. And I can proudly tell you that SURIVIT is recently in the local, the regional, and the international market. May I thank you all for your attention, and as we say in our language, Grand Tani.
Thank you so much, Tania. As usual, a fabulous presentation. And given Escipion's comments on the focus that the OACPS projects have now on women, I think that we Umafru Stranan is very well placed for continued success. Congrats on all the certifications that you are looking to have. And the products are amazing. Very often we don't think about Suriname a whole lot, but the biodiversity and the potential in Suriname as a breadbasket for the region is so significant. We have to turn our eyes a little further south, and to have a smoked cassava porridge is such a unique product. Thank you very much, Tania. Let me remind all of our participants to post their questions and comments in the Q&A, and our presenters can answer directly and also post in the chat. And for you who are now joining us, let me remind you that this is our session number 4. We have an amazing panel of female presenters. Our next presenter, whom I've already introduced, is Rita HILTON of Carita, Jamaica. Rita, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ina, and thank you for that introduction. And I'm blown away by Tania's presentation. It is just so amazing, and congratulations to her and her team. So we can roll the slides through. Our company was registered in 1984, and we've been in production ever since. I'm not going to read the slides. You can read through them very quickly. What I wanted to say to you is that the company was born out of a need to further the education of my children into college. I'm a school teacher by profession, and I taught high school in Jamaica and in Kenya for over 17 years. I'm so passionate, like Tania, about agriculture as being the way forward out of poverty. And out of that was born a company called Marketing Developments. And I needed to change that perception that we were just a marketing company. And we, together as a team, checked on how we could, by name, further the purpose and vision of the company. And out of that was born Caribbean Rita, Carita. And so we have moved on with that. We can change the slide to the next slide. And again, to the next one again. So food safety has always been a concern of ours. Our farmers come from rural Jamaica. We don't supply the local market with fresh produce, but because of this, the fact that good and safe food is so important, the next slide again, we are very conscious about this. And here we have some of the range of products that we export, and we make sure that we code where the product is coming from, which part of Jamaica it's coming from, so that we can have some recall in terms of anything going wrong with the location that or the market that it goes into. So far, we've had no recall on any of our products. So I'm very proud to say in the time that this company has operated over 30 years, we've had no recall. So we're conscious about all the regulations that are required, and we're working to comply with them on an ongoing basis. At present, we're working on FSMA for the United States with 2 particular products, and that's Scotch bonnet peppers as well as thyme, so that we can access the processed food markets. Next slide, please. So these are some of the certifications we have using our local institutions, primarily Jamaican Bureau of Standards with Good Manufacturing Practices certification. The Factories Act, we're in the final stages of HACCP certification, and we are working on standards that will allow us smoothly and freely to get into the European market. At present, our market linkages are mainly in the US, Canada. Those are our major markets. And the number one product that goes in, makes up the volume is yellow yam, which is so unique to Jamaica. We also do large amounts of sweet yams, sweet potatoes in particular. We would like sweet potatoes to cross the ethnic line, and it has done so in many of the countries. But because of certain barriers, we cannot access the US market, which we're hoping to be able to do by adding value of sweet potatoes. Now, some of the, next slide, please. Here are some of our markets. And what we want to do, we want to stop being, from our colonial past, a supplier of raw materials, and where people add value, or the importing countries add value. And we think that our food can be presentable in a better way by adding value and adding income to our countries, where it remains in our countries rather than in the importing countries. And to that end, we're looking at this whole line of pre-cooking our yams and sweet potatoes and other products, breadfruit, and making them more available and easier to use in the importing countries. So in this way, we will create more sustainable incomes for our rural community and to enrich their standard and quality of life. So next slide, please. Now, what are the challenges we face with in terms of food safety as well as in keeping continuous supplies? Of course, COVID has been a major disruption in terms of exports of fresh produce from Jamaica to especially the United Kingdom. The shipping lines have been disrupted. The cost of shipping has increased. But the most disrupted sector has been airlift capacity. And that caused a lot of produce not able to get to the markets. And it continues to be a factor as well in both accessing the European markets as well as Canada, especially for the perishable items. We're looking at hot peppers, things like breadfruit, like sorrel that need to get to the market very quickly, fresh callaloo. All these which are easily grown in our producing countries have high nutritive value and will bring very good, safe incomes to rural communities. The cost of accessing our farmers, you know, the Jamaica is a very hilly country. And so a lot of the yam production, for example, and sweet potato production is in the hilly areas. And the access roads are difficult, only accessible sometimes by donkey to get it onto the main roads to get it to the market. So this is one of the high cost items. The cost of monitoring food safety regulations where internet connections are unstable or not available to our small farmers is another challenge. The accountability of record production and keeping records by our farmers is very difficult because, you know, we don't have the network on the ground to assist and handhold our farmers, which are spread all over the country, to keep and maintain records which show that their produce is safe. I went over the COVID disruption. Sometimes when you send staff for training, the turnover of staff and personnel also will disrupt the completion of the food safety courses and also the implementation. Funding issues, these programs are not inexpensive. And so these also cause a lot of issues, especially for small and medium-sized operations. Climate change is going to be a big factor here. And the rainfall patterns have changed, the seasonality of the food availability has changed as well, and change in customer preferences as well. You know, people want easy preparation, they want easier food. And so that this also, we small and medium farmers have to be aware of this. Food safety regulations change rapidly, and making our SMEs knowledgeable and aware of these changing regulations and maintaining these regulations and systems can be extremely challenging from time to time. Change slides, please. A lot of support is required at the level of the agro sector and government intervention as well. It's the network to enable farmers to implement on the ground with a wide, far-ranging reach that our small farmers have, right? Across the sectors, within government and across borders, also maintaining food safety issues can be quite a challenge. Suffice it to say that from our systems and from our implementation of our systems, we have not had any recall for any of our products because we maintain those systems very seriously in our warehouse and our processing facility. The availability, some of the other the other challenges that we face is the high cost of fuel, especially in Jamaica as opposed to some of the other Caribbean countries. It's extremely expensive to move product from face to face. The lack of orchard production, the lack of knowledge of what is in the ground, when it is coming out, and when it will be available for processing. Farmers tend to respond to glut situations and high prices to go into the ground. And so this will result in gluts and famines. And that is difficult to maintain consistent pricing and consistent delivery to our importers. How do we overcome these
¿Cómo
challenges?
es que vamos a poder vencer estos retos? Bueno, yo creo que como país que necesitamos hacer redes, conectarnos, y no solo dentro de Jamaica, pero sino en todo el área del Caribe. La logística que se necesita para llegar a nuestros vecinos es muy difícil, es muy costosa en lo que se refiere a costos aéreos y las regulaciones en muchos de estos países caribeños no son coherentes en lo que se refiere a inocuidad alimentaria, en lo que se refiere a cumplir con las condiciones sanitarias. Y esto evita que haya un comercio transfronterizo, particularmente en el Caribe. Necesitamos realmente relacionarnos más de cerca para poder acceder y apoyarnos unos a otros en la región del Caribe. ¿Tenemos más diapositivos o esta es otra? Esto es todo lo que teníamos. Bueno, estas son algunas de las fotografías de los productos que nosotros tenemos. Pasemos a la próxima. La siguiente. Bueno, entonces ven que estamos haciendo estos productos que estén más disponibles y que puedan tener un mayor valor añadido. Yo creo que con eso completamos nuestra presentación. ¿Cuáles son los siguientes pasos? Queremos expandirnos en los mercados globales y locales. También queremos diversificar nuestros productos. Queremos invertir en innovación y usar más las plataformas de e-commerce para vencer simplemente los retos que tenemos en los mercados. ¿Cómo podemos crecer y cómo podemos expandirnos? Estamos viendo inversiones de manera que podamos obtener mayor equipo de seguridad para que podamos tener todo el valor añadido en nuestros productos, también tenemos que tener más asistencia técnica, no solo para Carita, sino para todas las pymes en Jamaica y en el Caribe. Y lo que es muy importante y que he visto también es que nuestros mercados están básicamente queriendo llegar a los Estados Unidos y Canadá. Tenemos que llegar a los mercados europeos y asiáticos como región, y nosotros necesitamos tener más colaboración y campañas de información para poder llegar a esos mercados. Yo creo que con eso he terminado mi presentación.
Thank you so much, Rita. Let me congratulate you.
Déjenme agradecerles. Esto es realmente algo maravilloso. Yo
an aficionado for yellow yam. I love yellow yam. And I think Usain Bolt has really put yellow yam on the market because you see in the ads on the internet, got yam on t-shirts and everything. We did an IFAD project once and we had Kevon Riney, Dr. Riney, speak about people coming to Jamaica to visit Usain Bolt's mother's farm to see where yellow yam grew because they wanted to be as fast as Usain Bolt. So we have so many things that we can do using our international stars to endorse our indigenous foods. Let me congratulate you.
Yes, I wanted to add just one other thing. We were one of 2 companies that were selected because of the protocols that we maintain to export mangoes to the USA. And that has been done from the last 3 years. And our exports to the USA for mangoes went from, I think, 3,000 boxes the first year to 9,000 to nearly 20,000 boxes last year.
That's
and
amazing.
We were one of 2 companies that were selected for this excellent.
This is Julie at East Indian, Bombay. You froze a little bit. Fantastic presentation. There are some questions for Rita on the Q&A. Rita, you can choose to type in your answer directly. There are also some questions for any of the presenters on standards, on what are the causes of food security, and the point that Rita made about accessing farmers and having real-time market information systems and so on, brings us to the critical need for bridging that rural divide and having digital villages. I know that IICA did some work on bridging that rural divide, and I'm aware that FAO has also recently launched a project on 1,000 rural villages. Rita, you were saying something and you froze. Yeah, continue.
Yes. Okay, I was saying that I'm willing to share my information with anyone that wants to go into the export market. And I don't think that I should keep that knowledge that I've gained over the 30 years, because I've grown from loading my own truck, cutting my own airway bills to the system
to managing
was so
it now.
Yes, and to managing itself, right? So, and I just wanted to say, during COVID period, the early period, from 2019 to the present, our exports doubled in revenue.
Wow.
So we must be doing something right. Okay?
Must be doing something right. We've had 2 excellent presentations. I've seen a lot of wonderful tributes for Tania's presentation and now for Rita's presentation. We have some amazing women in the region really leading the charge on agro-processing and marketing and exporting and business development. So we need to be proud of that. We are now at 211 participants. Let me welcome people from the Gambia, from Guinea-Bissau, more from Cote d'Ivoire, from our region. This is an exciting session. Our last presenter is Theophilia Stout from OACPS, and her daughter is going to present on her behalf. And I think that's great because there's family succession. All yours, OACPS. Please have the floor. Go ahead, your presentation is live. Sabrina?
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Sabrina Walker. I'm representing OACPS Incorporated with Theophilia Luzier today. I am her daughter. OACPS Incorporated is an agro-processing business that has developed over 13 all-natural gluten-free products. All of our products are all natural and use real ground provision. They have no preservatives, no additives, no dyes, and are completely gluten-free. Here are a few of some of our products. We made products such as alternative flours, pancake mixes, porridges, coatings, and oils made from cassava, breadfruit, sweet potato, plantain, and coconut. We don't have the yellow yam like Rita was explaining, but some of our products are considered superfoods. And we try to push our products for those who may be gluten intolerant or allergic to wheat. As you know, when we were growing up and the older folks were growing up, you could eat anything, but in recent, everybody's allergic to something or has a reaction to something. And this is because of the proteins, well, suspected proteins being used in these products now. And when research shows that about 0.5 to 1% of adults worldwide are now having a reaction to gluten and to wheat. So OACPS is solving that problem by creating products that are so that these people who may have these celiac disease and gut problems, intestinal inflammation, they can use easily and have to resort to a gluten-free diet. And it's trending now because even people who don't have gluten intolerant issues are starting to use the gluten-free diet, beginning to use a gluten-free diet. Our products can be used by vegans. It could be catered for children with our plantain porridge and even athletes. On the screen right now, you will see our sweet potato. A lot of people don't know that sweet potato is really good for athletes as well. So yeah, my sweet potato, we do a little collab. It's good in terms of building back muscles and actually sending that enough oxygen to the muscles for muscle recovery. So with a superfood, you have super meals. It's gluten-free, it's cholesterol-free, fat-free. It's a good source of fiber, rich source of vitamin A, and low in sodium. And this is just one part of our product brand, which uses the sweet potato. We use cassava, plantain, breadfruit, as I mentioned before. And if you look up, you will see that they are excellent source of vitamins, an excellent source of protein, excellent source of maintaining a healthy lifestyle. And with our products, our gluten-free flours especially, you can use it just like you use your wheat flours to make cakes, desserts, and shakes. Here's a range of our sweet potato products. We've made pancake mixes, fry and bake, coating, which is excellent. When I use it with my boys, they think that it's KFC chicken that I'm making. So it's excellent for frying and for baking. And the flour excellent also for making cakes and what's not. And this goes for all the ranges, whether it be the cassava pancake mix, the breadfruit pancake mix. Is excellent for children who have like eczema as well and or who suffer with asthma. So chefs all around the world, they are starting to use gluten-free products to make the same thing that you will find in the gluten-filled products. So now you can get pizzas, pastas, cakes, pastries, everything you would normally eat. You can now get the alternative gluten in a gluten-free farm. So OAS has over 13 products, and they are artisanally processed, they're organic, they're healthy, they're all natural, preservative-free, additive-free, have no dyes, are 100% gluten-free. OAS Inc. has developed a brand of food that gives you an alternative for using wheat and gluten-filled meals. OAS products help develop and maintain a healthier lifestyle and offer you the security of eating meals that are truly healthy and are good for improving your body. Eating healthy does not have to be bland. Make something delicious today with OAS. Thank you.
But Sabrina, and thanks also to Theophilia for that lovely presentation. You sound like a nutritionist.
Lots of research.
Lots of research. And
Yes.
here in Barbados, I have the honor to volunteer on the Heart and Stroke Foundation. I'm vice president on the board. And it's really a significant statistic that 1 in 3 of our children, our youths in Barbados is clinically obese. We have a youth gym where we give advice and nutrition advice and so on to our youth. So you need to link up with our Heart and Stroke and Diabetes Foundation if you're not already there. And I also want to say, as you talked about chefs, that IICA received from the CTA, when Isolina was there, a legacy asset. Isolina and I worked on developing a Chefs for Development platform, and we took that forward a little bit in IICA. As you know, CTA closed, but I'm saying Isolina to thank her for all the work that we did with the chefs in the African, Caribbean, and Pacific states, to say that we advanced it a bit with this legacy asset, and we're going to be launching a Chefs for Development website next week on the 14th of December, and I'm going to put the link in for all of you to join. We want producers, everybody who's associated with anything food in the Caribbean and in the Pacific and Africa to join, and for this to be the start of a great networking opportunity to validate and promote our food for our people and for the world. So I'm going to put the link in. And with that, I'm going to hand over to my dear colleague, Isolina BOTO, to moderate the next aspect of our session with our expert panel. Isolina is Head of Networks and Alliances at COLEACP. Over to you, Isolina.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ina. Thank you very much for keeping the time as well, as it's very, very busy, but very interesting, very impressive presentations as well. Congratulations to all. We are now having a little panel from experts and experts from policymakers, research, finance, those that are the ecosystem supporting the entrepreneurs, and they will tell us how their organization themselves directly support entrepreneurship development and the food safety and quality part. And we will end up with some presentations of some services that COLEACP and IICA are having and will have, and we will have the presentation of a new project supporting entrepreneurs by IICA and what COLEACP does. So without more delay, we start by Mr. Gavin Peters. He's the CEO of the Caribbean Agriculture, Health and Food Safety Agency, CAHFSA, of course, critical for the topic we are discussing today. He is, of course, you know that CAHFSA, or you will know more after that, is a CARICOM, the Caribbean community based, is an agency of the CARICOM, an institution of the CARICOM agency based in Suriname. Before joining as a CEO CAHFSA, he was an animal health specialist at the agency, and he has, of course, a lot of experience on those issues. He will share with us now the work of CAHFSA and what is directly of interest to the entrepreneurs. Thank you very much for joining us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Isolina, and thank you to all the presenters for some excellent presentation that set the stage for what I'm about to share with you. Tania, for example, spoke about having our products meet the Codex standards. And Rita spoke of, throughout our presentation in meeting the food safety standards so that she can be able to export. And in 30 years, I've never had a recall. And that has to do with the food safety standards and meeting them. So that indicates to us why CAHFSA, why are we here, and what is our role in ensuring and assisting SMEs and other businesses in the area of food production and trade. CAHFSA is an institution, as Isolina mentioned, an institution of CARICOM, and CARICOM is a Caribbean Community and Common Market, an organization made up of 15 Caribbean nations to promote economic integration among members. It was officially established in 1973, and the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas in 2001 paved the way for the CSME, which is the Caribbean Single Market and Economy. We also have 5 associate member states, such as Anguilla and Turks and Caicos, British Virgin Islands. CAHFSA, as the Caribbean Agricultural Health and Food Safety Agency, its objective is to establish an efficient and effective regime of SPS measures in support of the community's agricultural policy. Also to provide regional, Carita spoke of this, regional and nationally, provide support regionally and nationally in the establishment, management, and operation of their national agricultural and food safety systems. So the support that Carita is asking for, we at CAHFSA work with the national bodies in Jamaica, for example, to ensure that that support and information gets to you, the producers and the small businesses, and to execute on behalf of those countries such actions and activities that can be more efficiently executed through a regional mechanisms. Because we know Carita spoke of turnover of staff or trained personnel. So this is what we may find in some of our member states, that deficiency. So CAHFSA could help to supplement where that is so. What are some of our core functions? To promote the development and use of regional and international SPS measures, standards, and guidelines. This is what will guide all of our small producers and companies and to promote their growth. Because if you're able to produce your products to meet these international standards, then it will be able, you'll be able to access those markets like Rita is speaking of, say, for example, the EU market. Access to those markets are dependent on you being able to meet those standards. Strengthening of the legislative framework with respect to the SPS measures. I must apologize, you may hear some sound in the background. There are some guys working on the roof of the building and there's nothing much I could do about that. So sorry if you're hearing that. The areas of deficiency. This is a key area of deficiency that and for the need for new and upgraded legislation and regulation. There was mention of the FSMA. And so these areas in our regions, we need to work on ensuring that our legislation and regulations are up to the same standard. Monitoring and evaluation of the national programs in relation to their animal health, plant health, and food safety. Continuing our core functions, harmonization of technical procedure in relation to such matters as our quarantine systems and their protocol. And actually, Carita did mention the need I put it down where she said, what is required? And she said, regionally and locally networking and our regulations in food safety to be consistent. So this is actually a core function of CAHFSA to ensure that this is so. Our quarantine systems and their protocols, surveillance, the laboratory analyses that we are, it's another area of deficiencies. And there are countries where there are no SPS laboratories that are functional or they have just minimal operations. And where at present, lack qualified or trained staff. And this is where Carita also mentioned, where you have a high turnover rates in some cases. And problem in maintaining, acquiring in the first instance and maintaining accreditation for these laboratories. It is a costly exercise. Self-management and use of agrochemicals and other chemical inputs is another area that we like to focus on. For example, the use of antibiotics in our production. The development of protocols for the conduct of regional and international risk assessments. This is another SPS measure that CAHFSA focuses on. And we work to maintain regional and national databases. And these are some of the areas where those databases focus on. The import and export requirements for animal and animal products, plant and plant products. This is one of the things that Carita was asking for that we do. The disease prevalence, trade issues in the region, and animal and plant health expertise, and some of the regulated pests. Continue to provide information that can then assist these small businesses in their production, so that when at the end, the quality and the safety of the products that they produce would be able to meet the international standards, so that they can then be able to export. And not also for export, I always like to focus on the provision of quality and safe product for our local consumption. I like to reverse it and say that should be our primary focus, that when whatever products we are producing should be done in a safe manner so that the local population can have the confidence that they are consuming something that will not harm their bodies. So we look at the produce guidelines, we prepare tech packs for along the entire value chain of the product, from the farm to the table, and to assist in the development of local SPS bodies to meet their obligations in a timely and efficient manner. So those, in short, are some of the core activities of CAHFSA. And I have included 2 videos that translate what I have said to you into action. And I will try to share one of them now. If it doesn't work, we will share this in the documents that are supplied.
We talk a lot about food at the World Trade Organization, don't we?
I don't think you
Chili?
hear it.
No, thank you.
This format.
We do. Food is important. Not even a little bit?
Gavin,
No.
we hear
We
it,
will
but we
probably
don't see
never
it.
agree on a common level of
Okay.
spiciness, will we? Are you sure about chili? Let's talk about food safety instead. That's an issue that is solvable. International trade is an important part of the global economy, and it's especially important for developing and least developed
It's
countries.
difficult because
The
we
World
just
Trade
hear
Organization
the-
is all about making trade flow more freely.
Gavin.
But for food products,
Yeah.
governments have
We
the
don't see the
right
video.
to define product requirements to protect the health of consumers and to prevent the spread of plant pests and animal diseases, because protect.
So perhaps what Axel will do is indeed, we will share the 2 links just
Sure.
a bit after, because if we all are looking at the links now, it will disturb a bit the following. But yes, certainly. And we will also share of course, all the the PowerPoints as well afterwards. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for a very, very interesting presentation. Of course, IICA, but my colleagues also at COLEACP work closely with CAHFSA, and I can only recommend to be updated, to know the information, not only for the countries that you serve in the CARICOM, but for the entrepreneurs to follow the very, very interesting information you have and other activities. So very, very much appreciated, and we will strengthen even more our collaboration. So without major delay now, thank you so much. We will have an opportunity in the question answers to, of course, come back to some of the issues, but just the next expert to share some insights is Theodora Moril. I hope I pronounce it well. You are a very known expert as well on food safety and quality expert. You have worked at two global food industry leaders, Kellogg and Kraft Foods. You have yourself been an independent expert on global food safety and quality. You have maintained, developed risk-based global audit systems and tools that measure adherence to company standards and applicable regulations for the US, for Canada, and for other global. You have been as well a member and the president of a global non-profit organization that works to strengthen food safety and improve human, plant and animal health and well-being through, which is critical, very critical for us as well, partnerships with industry, governments. We need all, as we understand now, all together to work to more stringent food systems and food quality. So thank you very much for being with us today and for sharing some of your insights from your expertise, current and previous work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Great. I want to thank you, IICA and COLEACP. And again, I apologize because there's some noise happening. Hopefully it won't distract too much. But I wanted to say congratulations to the presenters. And I was very impressed and excited to hear about the level of food safety that the businesses on board have presented, the certification levels. So it's exciting to know that it's possible to be done. Food safety, I'm very passionate about because food for us impacts every single one of us in what we do. And how we manage food and how we do food in social events. And as food producers and consumers of food ourselves, food safety is a must. And unfortunately, in so many cases, food safety is relegated to part-time. So what we need to do is, sorry about the noise, 1 second.
So in the meantime, Tania and others, you have direct questions.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
All right. So I think one of the things that I have found is how do we get the Caribbean and the developing countries to do food safety as a culture, a behavior change. And we talk about food safety in the concept of a business. I like to say food safety is not a competitive advantage in that if we have a food safety issue, it will impact everybody else. However, it's also a competitive advantage as the businesses that were here before mentioned how it open access to market for them and how you can get people to build reputation around food safety. So we can go to the next slide, please. We all know what foodborne illness is, and is a result for consumption of food contamination with bacteria, virus, or parasite. And what I want folks to think about is when you think about food safety, just don't think about it as I have to do this to make food. We think about it as the way of life. If I'm gonna make food for my family, I take pride in making sure that I give my family food. In our business, we are the head of the business. We are feeding our families, which is our consumers. And how do we ensure that everything we do, from the farm, from the transportation, into market. And we talked about not just for export, but first start locally. And one of the things that I have encountered as I start looking back in the Caribbean is the low perception of food safety as a risk in the Caribbean. So we think of our food as food safety is not a big risk. And one of the reasons maybe is because we don't have the surveillance requirements to ensure that we are monitoring and communicating the risk. Next slide. And we talked about, again, food safety undermining the nutritional security of human development, the broader food economy. So when we talk about food safety, it's linked. We talk about safe food, food insecurity. If we don't have enough safe food to eat, we're not going to be able to provide nutritious food for the family. It's also about sustainability, how we manufactured food, and it also helps us with trade. Next slide, please. This is data that is known, but I wanted to put it again to remind folks about how impactful unsafe food is to the world. So go back to the next slide, please. And so it's not just the world where we have more information on looking at surveillance, but CAHFSA says that 1 in 49 person in the Caribbean, approximately 142,000 person will acquire foodborne illness. And again, this number increases to 1 in 11 person during frequent mass gathering. And I challenge that data that this number is much, much lower than what's actual, for the fact that we have not captured all the data that's out there due to the limitation of what's available. So next slide. So here are the challenges I see. So as I work for global companies, some of the things that I have got frustrated with is in the developed countries, when we look at our Caribbean islands and some of the challenges that we have to change our consumer habits. The internet, globalization of food supply chain makes it impossible for us to ignore food safety. Now, for us to succeed, some of the challenges that I see is we don't have the behavior change that we need across the supply chain. The importance of food safety, the interdependence to everything. So how do we change the culture of thinking of food safety and how we include that as part of our business plan? So when you go in to look for your budget, for your business, for export, food safety should be top of mind, and it has to start from the top. However, for that to happen, I know for small businesses, it's such a challenge because we do not have the dollars, the infrastructure that we need both on the farm and in manufacturing. So when you want to go into the US markets or into Europe markets, the perception, having worked for big companies, is that the food safety standards that's in those areas is not acceptable. And the reason being because the standards for those countries are so extremely high that it's impossible for us to meet it. Let's take HACCP, for example. One of the minimum requirements is you have to have a HACCP plan. You need a HACCP team. For small businesses and micro businesses, that becomes a challenge to create a HACCP team, to find a microbiologist that's trained, to find a chemist to be part of your team, to be able to do the basic HACCP systems. So how do we get representation on the international stage during policy development? So when the developed countries, so if I'm sitting on the US and I'm sitting in Codex, developing HACCP standards, the standards are normally developed for developing countries. It doesn't take into consideration the smaller companies, the underdeveloped companies, and how are they going to work to do that. So we need to be at the table when those policies at that level are being developed, to have a voice to say, what is the way forward? Say the standard for HACCP is this, we're not going to change it, but is there a stepwise process that allows small businesses to stepwise into getting to the final stage, but at the same time, still making safe food? The food safety standard compliance, and it's in the Caribbean, how are we enforcing that? I've gone through different places, and it's really hard to find what the standards are. If I'm buying food for Kellogg or Kraft, each country, each island in the Caribbean has a different standard. And that makes it complicated. So where do we have, as the Caribbean community, a harmonization of standard, a guideline by categories of food or by high-risk food, so that we can help small businesses work together to meet the standards, but most importantly, understand it and implement it. We talk about Food Safety Modernization Act, and Rita, I'm very impressed that you're already into that step of getting your food safety plans in place and your gap. And I think the other speaker also talked about that. But if we want to go from local to international, I was involved in developing the Food Safety Modernization Act with the FDA. What made it workable is that the companies had the opportunity to help develop it. In the Caribbean, we don't have that representation, but we are expected to meet those. So when we talk about the partnership between the private sector and the government sector, we need to be able to provide our people a process that allows us to create guidelines that will help those small businesses meet those high standards that's been set up by the developed countries. Capacity building like this series is critical, but most importantly, when we do capacity building, my passion is that we have the resources to help on the ground, to turn those capacity building, not just as a learning, but be able to apply it. So if I do a HACCP certification, that the small businesses has the resources that they can translate that into actual action. Another area that I see that we can work on is testing facilities for our region. And I think we talked about it a little bit as a challenge. So in most countries, when we go in, you don't have a testing lab to test for your environment, for your water samples, or for your food. We want to go away from testing of finished food and go to a preventive test, but you need to be able to test some samples so you can create baseline. So for me, my passion is, how do I help the Caribbean, for the small businesses, the micro businesses, to understand first what's needed from a food safety standpoint, from a documentation standpoint, but it cannot be done with ourselves. We need public-private sectors. We need to provide guidelines. We need to be able to help execute and translate that training that's out there together to get it to the small businesses.
Thank you very much, Theodora. Very, very interesting. It's a whole area in itself that we need to do more detailed sessions. Without more delay, Cletus Joseph, you are the last one in this expert group, executive Director, National Development Foundation of Dominica. You have a finance expertise, finance experience. You have worked extensively in the banana industry in Dominica, assisting farmers to meet market requirements and finance, because of course everything is important, market, finance, technical skills, etc. And you have worked with the credit union movement in Dominica, a financial institution that provides, with the cooperative principles, support to smallholders, which is also a very important area, which was highlighted by many of our SMEs as well. So please, without major delay, I give you the floor.
Okay, thank you, Isolina. Greetings to everyone from the nature island of the Caribbean, Dominica. Let me try to get my screen share going. Yeah, I am the Executive Director of the National Development Foundation of Dominica, better known as the NDFD. The NDFD is 40 years old. This year we are in the process of celebrating our 40th anniversary, and that has been 40 years of supporting small business development in Dominica. Dominica is a small island in the Caribbean, one of the tiniest of populations around. So that's what we are. So essentially, because we support small and micro businesses, we come across MSMEs who are involved in food production. And can MSMEs be the critical link that is required to ensure safe and wholesome food, to make that impact within the Caribbean? So my photo here, essentially the middle here, this one here, Big G's pepper sauce, that's a Dominican brand of pepper sauce, flavored pepper sauces. I think it also exports. This has been a client of the NDFD. We see the banana production here. As Isolina said previously, I worked extensively in the banana industry, and that was to ensure that our farms were certified in order to be able to access the European market. And this was quite a feat, but we did achieve it. And I note the other presenters like Theodora and I think Gavin and what's your name? HILTON, your challenges and the other persons that you encounter with regard to the difficulty in being market ready in terms of the standards that are required. So this is a serious challenge for small and micro and medium-sized enterprises. But just for some stats here, the Caribbean food imports, and that is according to an FAO 2013 report, the combined food import bill for the 14 Caribbean community members skyrocketed from 2.08 billion in 2000 to 4 billion in 2008. So in about 8 years, we have been able to double our food import bill, and this has been up to 4.25 billion as at 2011. As to what it is today, I did not go into any further research in that, but this is sufficient, to my mind, data to indicate that herein, between our exports and our imports, herein lie a tremendous opportunity for our small and medium and even micro enterprises to capitalize on to satisfy some of that need. On the other chart here, if we look at the main items of food import, we see rice, things like rice, meat, chicken, maize, and good to hear some people talk about they are making alternative flour, and that's flour that is not derived from wheat. And to be able to have that sort of thing, and oils, palm oil, coconut oils. In Dominica, we do quite a bit of virgin coconut oil. At one time, we had a thriving coconut and oil industry and soap production industry that disappeared for a while. It's now on a little bit of a rebound. But just the basic things that we use, the beverages, and those things, sugars, and those things, we can to find our way to supply ourselves with some of this. So this is just a synopsis of opportunities that are within our small region. I believe the Caribbean, from Trinidad up to Jamaica. Certainly it's less than 10 million people, but the figures here in terms of billions is quite a bit we have to eat, so we can try to substitute some of those imports and also thing. So the facts that stand out from there is that the CARICOM food import bill, as I said, and in 2010, only 12.7% of our total food imports was sourced from within the Caribbean, and that was down from 17%. Sorry, I have an error there, in 28, I believe that was. So herein lie the opportunities, and the prices of imports did increase tremendously, exponentially during the period of 2000 to 2011. And the value of intra-regional trade, another opportunity, has grown by 48% during the period. So there are opportunities. So the high food import bill impacts foreign exchange levels, budgets for social protection programs, levels of growing. So if we can supply some of our needs, and food is a basic need, as we all know. So if we can substitute some of those imports, we are able to put some of those finances towards other necessary items such as social protection and fighting on communicable diseases. And even within the issue of food, there is a saying in some Caribbean countries that we can make our food our medicine and our medicine our food. So we will essentially be like killing many birds with one stone by providing ourselves with what we believe. And one of the presenters was speaking about the nutritional content of their produce, and even the yellow yams that Jamaica produces, the sweet potatoes that I believe maybe every Caribbean country, including Dominica, we have all of these as well, yellow yams, ladies yam, and all of those other wonderful vegetables that we produce here do have very high nutritional content and can help to keep us healthy and ensuring that we have an ounce of prevention rather than trying to seek a pound of cure. Okay, so being in microfinance, because that's what I am into now at the National Development Foundation, and one of the things that I believe I wanted to bring across is our understanding of what microfinance and MSMEs are. And my recent research, essentially micro means small. And as to what we mean by small, size we can measure is sort of, to my mind, subjective to what you measure against. But micro in terms of finance is small amounts of money, cash that you need to fund your operations. But microfinance in itself is a more complex creature in that it comprises of a few other services within microfinance, and microcredit, which is the small loans that we grant to small and micro and medium-sized businesses, is just one part. But it is the major part, because some persons believe that money is the wherewithal that small business require, which is totally far from the truth. And I dare mention that as part of microfinance, you also have micro insurance, which is critical, especially to farmers and even small businesses following catastrophic disasters, such as hurricanes, storms, earthquakes, and other drawbacks that can affect us. We in Dominica, we would have been exposed to recently the catastrophic events of one Hurricane Maria in 2017, where approximately 325, over 200% of our GDP was destroyed, and small and micro businesses are struggling to this day to recover, So micro insurance as an essential part of microfinance is important, and is something that needs to get some attention as well, while we also look at the microcredit aspect of microfinance. And we also have the issues of micro savings, where individuals and small businesses need to understand that part of their returns, they have to try to keep some of it as an emergency fund, that if they require it. I also inserted here the issue of micro-technical assistance. That is not in any formal study that I came across, but it is something that I believe, because we are looking at food and food safety and the challenges that small, medium-sized and micro enterprises encounter with regard to ensuring that their products and can meet the requirements of the markets that they serve, would require some level of technical assistance to ensure that. And the speakers before me did indicate the cost of doing that. And I like when, I think Theodora was it, who said that we can do the trainings, but how do we ensure that the small enterprises can implement those trainings, whatever we learned, and the HACCPs and the GAPs and the other standards, ISOs that we have come across to think. Now, MSMEs, as I indicated, size is sort of subjective to what you're measuring. And if one client asked me just maybe last week, I believe, but why do we call all of our businesses small? And one of my things was, let us see what we have and measure it against the Apples and Samsungs and Pepsis and, you know, those other global companies, which are really massive. So we essentially are micro in terms of them, okay? So the roles of MSMEs can play. And what we find is that typically MSMEs are involved in using various skills to develop products such as, and services such as snacks and delicacies and craft items, and where they apply a more or less of a tell and sell model rather than a marketing driven model. Okay, we have cottage size industries and businesses that can add value to agricultural commodities and process them into jams and jellies and sauces, drinks and other local foods. So these are opportunities that are there for small businesses. They also create linkages and have the ability to increase the linkages between agricultural production and manufacturing and processing. They can also use one man's trash to be another's treasure is another important aspect. So the issue of looking at things like maybe even coconut husks into brushes and coconut shells into medical charcoal and pulps into fertilizers for having more sustainable farms that are more friendly on the environment are issues that can be looked at. MSMEs also have the potential, as indicated earlier, to have some import substitution role as a start and to increase exports as a medium to long-term goal. I know Rita HILTON, I think she mentioned the issue of starting from a need, wanting to, I want to quote you correctly, but finance the development of her children's school. So she may have started as small or even micro and have now grown to something bigger, okay? MSMEs also have the ability to adapt more quickly than very large businesses. So this is an advantage there, but may lack the ability to spot the changes and opportunities that present themselves. So collecting and processing market intelligence is important. So
you have 1 minute, Cletus, 1
okay,
minute, yes, sorry.
I'll get there. MSMEs can play a critical role in ensuring the safe and wholesome food, meeting the safe and wholesome food requirements of our region and accessing further markets. But what I want to indicate is that microfinance essentially has more or less targeted the finance aspect, but the technical assistance aspect is usually lacking, so we can focus on that. If I go to my recommendations and conclusions here, a well thought out system which provides support to our MSMEs to ensure that all can do the things which they need to do without the cost being crippling and out of reach and renders them unsustainable when it comes to debt repayments because of the high debt service ratio. So when finance institutions, be it micro or the banks or otherwise, evaluate SMEs, they look to see the ability to repay in terms of what you're doing and whether you are able to generate sufficient revenues to meet your costs and eventually service the debts, you know. MSMEs can consider a network where each one supports the other and benefit from economies of scale that they do not have individually, that allow them to service their markets, be it niche or otherwise. MSMEs can partner to, again, benefit from economies of scale. Support organizations like those present here today. How do we, as organizations, come together and assist SMEs to put those structures together and benefit from it to ensure that we meet all of those requirements, okay? After I did that, I came across that quote from that same FAO report, which says the region needs a comprehensive strategy which invests in more efficient food production systems, import substitution, and consumer education, and brings together the private and public sector. And that's from the FAO in 2013, which I think is quite as relevant today as 7-8 years ago. The need for that still is there, and I would encourage us to take this discussion today to that other level of ensuring that we have a supporting structure for each and every MSME within the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are a bit struggling for time now, so we go quickly to the questions. Some have been answered already by the panelists. I have a few still that could be, I will go again to each of you, starting by the SMEs and the companies, and you can pick up some of the ones you really want to answer in 2-3 minutes max, because we still have a little session of very much interest for the support services to SMEs. So we have some bilateral local organizer of CAHFSA in Jamaica, when it gets to you, online store for the O's and other companies if you have online stores. Some questions that keep repeating is the certification, organic certification. What is the process to get certifications? How much is the certification to Rita and others? Is it that difficult to do by others who are today in the audience? What are the processes, from the farm to the final stage, especially organic? Another question is for you, all of the companies, how do you contribute also, in addition to the food safety standards, sustainable environment standards, and others, since it can be food safety, but it can still be with pesticides, inorganic fertilizers, and so on. Do you have also some of the other concerns? Do you tackle some of the other concerns of environment, labor, or social standards, etc.? Of course, we have a big audience of from Africa, which we thank very much. So they also want to know, have you an interest in the African market? And then there are other questions saying, how do you choose your market? Sometimes you have indicated that your food safety and so on is to serve US and Canada, but not, for example, Europe. Why have you started by those markets? Perhaps it's just because of proximity. They are closer to the Caribbean. We don't know. Perhaps you can give us a quick part. And then some bilateral gains on a lot of food, which is like mangoes and others going to waste actually, and now through processing and then through standards, etc. Can we reduce this wastage? So the relation between food waste, food losses, and of course, efficiency in the chain and processing, and hence standards and food safety. This is a bit what I will start quickly to ask each of you. I will start by the reverse order, or perhaps start by Tania. Okay, go. Tania, Rita, and Theophilia, please. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, very quickly. Or any other things you want to add, of course, from what you have heard. Please, Tania.
Yes, let me start by saying I first of all want to compliment everybody on their presentations. I think that it was tremendous. But to start with the last is how we choose our markets. In the Caribbean, we are the scale is so limited. And there are many things that you need to address, like marketing, like logistics. One of our biggest problems in the Caribbean is logistics, and all forums, they speak about that, but still nothing is happening. It's easier for us to export to Europe than compared to the Caribbean. And for Suriname, why did we choose Europe? First of all, we have some preference facilities in the EPA. And second of all, we have a large community of diaspora. So your marketing costs will not add up immediately. People knows your products, so they will likely try it. And the logistics towards Europe is much easier than Caribbean or anywhere else. Yeah, that is what I can add to this so far. That's how we choose our markets, but we are not limited to that. What I want to add to my whole presentation is that we are an agriculture processing company. We do process other agriculture products. I only limited myself to our main product, and that's the weaning child food. But we also export, for example, green pre-processed mango. I saw that somebody asked a question about mango is wasted, but we are exporting to the Caribbean huge volumes, 20-feet containers of pre-processed green mangoes as well.
Yes, thank you very much. We have seen in previous sessions actually that there was a lot of, without knowing ourselves, a lot of business between entrepreneurs in Caribbean and in Africa. So this is to say that, you know, to encourage, of course, that there are businesses happening, but they have to develop still. Rita, please.
Yes, I'm just unmuted. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm blown away by some of the presentations. One of the things we talked about markets, the proximity, the logistics, as Tania said, it's much easier for Jamaica to ship to Miami, to New York, to Toronto, and also some linkages to Europe, to England particularly, not to Europe. And the expense of linking to Europe, also the lack of knowledge for penetration into the European market is a problem. Recently, there's been an air linkage between Jamaica and Ghana. So we would like to penetrate that market, but again, it's a lack of knowledge of that market. And I think it would be a very favorable form of exchange and also of the protocols in those importing markets in Africa. We would love to be able to do that. In terms of wastage, I think there's a lack of knowledge of and application of appropriate technology of how to convert that wastage into value-added products. For example, if you look at mangoes or the storage of sweet potatoes, sometimes there's a glut. How do you store it? We need appropriate technology for small and medium farms and businesses to be able, without incurring huge fuel costs, to be able to store, and as well as to know the capability of how to store and the cost of storage to get the maximum out of it. Too much of our production is wasted. In terms of the Caribbean, I remember in the old days that geese used to have 10-foot containers, reefer containers, and they used to collect bananas all up the eastern seaboard. What happened to those 10-foot containers? The only thing that's available is the monstrous 40-foot containers. And for small and medium producers, unless we act collaboratively and collectively and cooperatively, we'll never be able to fill those containers. And there's not room for consolidated reefer containers in the system. So we talk about it, and it continues to be talked about, and no solutions arrived at. So I think these are the challenges, but the lack of knowledge of appropriate technology and the lack of available appropriate technology to deal with the gluts is a huge problem. And the cost of fuel is another big problem. The lack of penetration of other markets is also a lack of knowledge, as well as the high cost and the cost of logistics. For example, for a 20-foot container to get to the UK, the time it takes is 21 days. That is just too long. Market changes very quickly. And the response time, by the time that produce gets to the market, it's very, very difficult. And only the hardier forms of produce can eventually reach the yams, the sweet potatoes, the dasheen, the cocoa, the yampi. Those ones will survive. But the perishables, for us, without the appropriate technology, won't make it. So that's my contribution. I also wanted to say we are mainly a female-operated company. Most of my workers single mothers and also come from very low income groups. So great pride in that and facilitating that. Thank you.
Yes, you should be proud. Very, very good. Thank you very much. Theophilia or Sabrina, do you have something from your side very quickly?
Okay, Sabrina won't be able to make it, so we won't be able to, just want to thank you all and that is it, because
Okay, I know
she's
that.
not around.
Okay, I know that you have some challenges. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Very true. Thank you, Ina, for posting indeed that Barbados and others have embassies in Ghana, Kenya, CARICOM, and of course, Escipión can also add his points there. Tania, you forgot something?
Yes, and I think it's the most important thing, and I think that it was
this year is how you understand what was going on.
Go on, Tania.
Dora who hit the nail on the head. One of the most important things. I think that bankers, developing agencies should understand by now that when SMEs are struggling for 7 years, 13 years, that means they are there to stay. How can we be supported financially to implement all this technical support that we are getting, all this knowledge, all this capacity building? You need tools, and to have the tools, you need financing. It's the major thing. And I think that the scouting to support small companies that have established things, especially on their own, and are meeting certain standards, that they should be selected in a better way and given opportunities. We have no time to go around and see what company or what agency or what bank can provide us loans with reasonable interest. We don't want to get free money. Loans with reasonable interest. But maintaining your company doesn't give you the space to go around continuously to see where to find it. That is what I wanted to. I think it's a major thing that will give us the opportunity to accelerate much better.
Yeah, I fully agree. And from COLEACP and the same from IICA, we have discussed that many times with Ina, we are too small and we try each time, this is a bit the sense of those sessions, to feature SMEs, companies like you that have had success with nothing almost, I mean, no support, and you are still there, that, you know, us and others, but us is even not enough. We want to mobilize others from technical assistance, from finance, etc. Come in, you know, and I hope that this is a small contribution towards it. In the next session, we will have also the presentation more for specifically IICA and COLEACP on some of the things we are doing. But again, it's not enough. So hopefully many of those that follow up, and we will link you as well with finance and other parts. Ina, do you want to add something on Escipión before we go to the final one?
No, not yet. I'd like Janet to make a presentation,
yes.
and then if there's time.
You come then after. Escipión, you heard, you are in the core as well of finance and technical and facilitation, because all the programs that Escipión and his organization manage in support of entrepreneurs cover the whole range of services, and they are all important. So Escipión.
Yes, thank you very much. Absolutely. Finance is a big issue for SMEs. And we are really trying to put in place instruments. We are working now with the Inter-American Development Bank to create what we will call Equity Caribbean, similar to what is Boost Africa, to try to help as much as possible SMEs. Also, the European Investment Bank has put several facilities. However, the problem of the interest rate is a big issue, but it is not necessarily related to international banks. Is more related to our own banking rules in our own countries. It's very difficult for an international bank to give you an interest rate lower than your central bank is given to people depositing in the accounts. And this has always been a struggle, because we have always claimed that we want lower interest rates in national currency. And that is a big issue that is difficult to solve, and it has to really a discussion on macroeconomics on the countries. What we're really trying to do, especially with special funds like we have, like Agri-Fi, is to help cooperatives, help also having longer loan periods rather than the interest rate, which is, like I said, very difficult because then you influence the country's macroeconomic policy. And also trying to work with grace period. In most of our countries, local banks prefer to lend to commercial units or real estate because that turns very fast. But if you tell them that I'm going to invest in plants that are going to take 5 years to start producing fruits, and then they go crazy and they say, no, that's impossible. So I think that what we're really trying to do now, and that is within our margin in international communities, work on grace periods, longer repayment periods, and also working in cooperatives to build up that common strength. Interest rates, I really can't. I would love to come here and say, yes, we're going to be able to find a solution. This is something that we have really spoken a lot. Only reasonable interest rates can only be found if you get really big projects and that you take the money in hard currency, unfortunately. So because I just want to be straight with you. Maybe I just take this chance to say that something that we're also trying to do in something that Rita and I think Tania also touched, is that we're really trying to help our companies and our private sector to influence international rules concerning quality and things like that. So these things are coming, and we're creating a business forum, and I hope that you are all invited. We want to give the private sector a say in all the discussions, especially the discussion about interest rates, but it's not as easy as it might feel. Sorry.
Yep. No, thank you, Escipión, and especially that SME part. We all know the missing middle, which is the ones that don't have access to easy finance. Cletus, you have something to add, but really very, very briefly, because you.
Yes. Yeah. Quickly, I just want to take on that last point there that the interest rate generally is not usually the main factor hindering SMEs, but more the access to the finance rather than just the interest rate. The interest rate is a part, yes, but how do SMEs access the level of financing that they require if the collateral requirements are too stringent? And that is where I always advise SMEs, most likely the bank is not the best financier for you because they are not structured to service you as SMEs, because they have all of those ratios to meet and all of those requirements that they have to meet. So the access to the finance, and if it is one area that we have to look at as supporting agencies for SMEs, is in the area of how do we help the SMEs to access finance from their finance institutions? Do we go the way of putting in some guarantee funds in place or that sort of thing? So these are questions that we have to answer. So I take the note of the high interest rates, yes, but the banks may not be the ones to be able to go that low.
But there is clearly something missing there, because it's one of the areas which is not serving SMEs, is not serving that segment. So we will follow up that. Now, without major delay again, I mean, briefly, we have the last part, the really, really last part. First, Janet Lawrence, who is going to present a new initiative by IICA serving SMEs on food safety. Of course, Janet is agriculture research and development professional. She's managing actually agriculture, health and food safety and quality portfolio at IICA. She has a lot of experience on that for many, many, many years in different capacities. And she manages as well the 11th European Development Fund SPS Measures Project, which is funded by the European Union and the Greater Caribbean Safeguarding Initiative. So please, Janet, quickly, and then we will have Morag.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good morning, good afternoon, good night to all our participants. It's indeed a pleasure and an honor to have been given the opportunity to launch the pilot of the Caribbean Food Safety Information Portal at this very important agribusiness forum. It has been an exciting morning, excellent presentations, and I think one of the things that have come out, one of the issues that have come out is the whole need for information and information access. That has been very clear. Before I start, I would like to acknowledge my team, my co-lead, Dr. Lisa Harinanan, who is IICA's Agricultural Health and Food Safety Specialist in Trinidad and Tobago, and our consultants, Miss Gabriela Alfonso and Rachel Rennie, who have been very instrumental in terms of developing this tool. Now, before we demonstrate the tool, what I would like to do is just to provide you with some context in relation to the development and the implementation of this action. So as we know, having the right information at the right time, in the right format, transmitted through the right media really does influence and affect the livelihoods of many of the stakeholders along the agri-food chain. And many times in the Caribbean, we see that micro and small enterprises are unable to access information that they require due to the lack of availability or the extensive effort that is required to comb through links and download documents and all of that. People just don't have time. We want something that we can get that is accessible and very quick. And so IICA, through a technical cooperation action, has addressed this limitation through the development of an information database and capacity building portal where micro and small enterprises can access current information and have learning opportunities on all aspects of the food safety management system. This activity is under IICA's Agricultural Health and Food Safety and Quality Program, which strives to promote the development of a productive, competitive, sustainable agricultural sector that provides safe food to local, regional, and international markets. And so the objective really of the action was really to improve dissemination and accessibility of food safety information to micro and small enterprises so that they're able to produce safe foods and comply with market requirements. And so this activity targets 7 countries in the initial phase: Barbados, Dominica, Guyana, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago. And at the end, we are hoping to contribute to micro and small enterprises having information that allows them to comply with food safety standards, improving knowledge sharing and linkages and exchanges across the region, and of course, promoting the use of e-agriculture in the sector. So what is the portal like? It really is a repository of up-to-date information that is easily accessible. We have over 200 resources now in the portal, spanning a wide range of topics. The food safety culture, Theodora mentioned that. How do we ingrain that right across the sector? The basics of food safety, the ABCs, the what, the how, the why, the when. Food safety along the supply chain. National food safety regulations. Someone spoke about that in terms, I think it was Mrs. Hilton, about each country having different regulations. We need to understand what are the food safety regulations, what is necessary for trade. Food safety testing. What are some of the common tests that are needed? Who does it at the local level? Who does it at the regional level? COVID-19 and food safety practices, as well as trade information, critical, very essential. What are the requirements to get into markets? What are we looking for? How is the information presented? As articles, guidance documents, manuals, codes of practice, white papers, as well as training courses, recorded webinars, videos, and podcasts. So today we are very excited to launch the pilot of this tool. So we'll be piloting the tool over the next 3 to 4 months. And what the pilot will do for us is allow us to evaluate the usefulness of the content. Is there an appetite for the content? Look at the ease of navigation of the platform and look at additional areas where we may need required information that's required by MSCs. And also looking at the impact. What is the impact of having this information accessible? After the pilot, we will then open it to the rest of the region. So ladies and gentlemen, we are very excited today to launch this platform. And I'm now going to turn it over to our web developer, who will take us and highlight some features of the platform to you all. Thank you very much. So Rachel, over to you.
In 1-2 minutes.
In 1-2 minutes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Janet. I'm just trying to share my screen. Great. So I'm an SME in the Caribbean, and honestly, I was wearing a different hat doing this website, but it was very exciting to see it all come together. I'm just going to walk you through how the website is going to look and how it will, you can use the website. So welcome to the Caribbean Food Safety Information Portal. With this platform, we hope to assist and guide micro and small enterprises to improve operation efficiency and achieve market competitiveness in the following ways. So as you can see, through raising the bar for food safe production, adding value to and safety to Caribbean foods, improving compliance for increased market access and trade, and lastly, boosting food and nutrition security in the region one meal at a time. In relation to navigating the site, once you enter Caribbean Food Safety or CaribbeanFoodSafety.com in your search engine, the homepage will appear, just like moving horizontally across. The top of the homepage, there are 7 major headings: food safety and the basics of food safety, culture, GAPs, GMPs, etc., regulation, specific to countries, supply chain, testing, COVID-19 update, resources, which refer to educational and training resources, and lastly, trade. So viewing the homepage vertically, you'll see a synopsis of what the website is supposed to offer and which countries it serves. Now, again, there's a lot of information here that's applicable to any food safety culture, and it will be expanded as once the pilot is completed. So as you scroll, you'll see a synopsis of the main headers, again, with quick access to all those topics that we covered. And again, direct links to those topics. There's also a space where we will showcase engaging videos on food safety and preparation of Caribbean cuisines. It is a very short video, 24 seconds. So I'm just going to play it really quickly. And lastly, there's a subscription area where you can enter your email address and just subscribe, and you'll receive updates along with the contact information for both the IICA Barbados and IICA Trinidad and Tobago. So next we'll move just to the food safety tab. And in relation to the presentation of the specific information, when the tabs are entered, for example, food safety, there's a short preamble summarizing what resources are available in the section. And then when you click on the individual resources, as you can see, there's access to different articles that support the different topics. And most of the layouts of the website will have the topic, which is what is food safety, 4 steps of food safety, etc. A short bio on what the article is about, as well as the source of the article and a direct link to the article. So if we move on to just regulation, it identifies specific to each country. I'm just going to click on one of the countries just to show an example. And again, it will be populated with more countries as the project expands. And as you can see, it's the same layout, but under the topics of regulations and legislations, state agencies and laboratories for approved testing. And if you were to click on it, the layout is a little different here, but the information is the same. So you have the short version, as well as the contact and a direct link to the different agencies that will support within each country. So as you go along, just to tell you, we have, while the portal serves as a repository for up-to-date and easily accessible resources on food safety, it's also expected to be an online capacity building tool whereby websites, e-courses, and training in areas of food safety and sanitation for food manufacturing, food fraud, and many other areas are offered. This is one e-learning resource listed. So for instance, if you were to click on e-courses and training.
So,
yeah, you can right away here, you can click to the particular resource and you can actually have training applied to your business in building this food safety culture. Lastly, we have the contact us page where we will just have where you can actually submit your information, the country you're from, and any requests specific to food safety, and it will be directed to the correct agency. So that's the presentation of the new website. It will be live into the early next year after the pilot is completed.
Thank you very much, Rachel, and plenty of collaboration with many of us in that. We will certainly use the resource. So thank you, Janet. I think among the speakers, nobody, Gavin, nobody else had anything to add, right? We can now go to Morag. And if not, you just alert me quickly. Morag, Jeremy in the program had to run, and Morag kindly step in. She's our head of science and policy. She has a specialized expertise in market access, sustainability, food safety, long-standing food safety and plant health, and has worked since 2003 in COLEACP, but prior to that in the UK and DFID system, still in research innovations, and she leads the sustainability program at COLEACP. It will get us another session just to talk about all the COLEACP as well services that we have to SMEs, but we will share, website and material. But please, Morag, bring us some of the key, support we can bring as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Isolina. It's been a very, very interesting session. Thank you for organising this. Of course, IPPC, IICA and Isolina, thank everybody for taking part. For many of the panelists, I know that it's quite late, and so it's great to see that so many people have joined this session and remained with it. And of course, thank you for all the participants. We've had some inspiring testimonies at the start of this from Tania, Rita, and Theophilia, who have given amazing overviews of what they've managed to achieve over the past few years in setting up their own businesses. But also, it's been very good to hear the overviews provided by the experts of the food safety initiatives that are going on now in the Caribbean. In terms of food safety, of course, but also in terms of microfinance. That was a very, very interesting and illuminating session that we heard there from Joseph. So we've had very active participation in the chat box and in the questions, which shows that this is a really important issue for all of us. COLEACP has now been around for a long time, for many years, but we've been actively involved in implementing technical assistance programs now for 20 years. And these, of course, all began thanks to the European Union and the Organization of Africa, Caribbean, Pacific States, who funded programs that were implemented by COLEACP. And of course, everything began with food safety and enhancing food safety compliance. New regulatory frameworks in the EU, in the US, etc., led to the development of many initiatives. And here we are 20 years later in a very different place. And now, we're not talking about, the establishment of basic food safety systems, but we're looking at food safety culture. Everything has moved on so much. In terms of the COLEACP also, we've diversified our areas of support. Isolina just alluded to this. We have different areas of service. We're doing a lot now in terms of business support and access to finance, but also sustainability, because we know that markets around the world and buyers around the world are increasingly looking for evidence of good social and environmental practice as well as food safety. So COLEACP support is available in a range of different areas, and you can get more information, of course, about that on our website. But despite everything, food safety, of course, remains a critical area of interest for us. Without food safety, you have nothing and you have no market access. As COLEACP, we intervene at different levels. Many of you who work with us will know that we work not only with the private sector, but also with public sectors. And we look at supporting governance processes, competencies, communication, etc., and with a variety of these target groups. We're all facing challenges. You know, Rita talked about food safety as being, you know, remaining as one of the major public health challenges worldwide. And Theodora mentioned that, you know, we're not looking at just at food safety and health issues in short term, but also fundamental underlying issues of nutrition, child health, etc. So food safety is a critical issue, remains a critical issue for all of us. And we face some really big challenges. You know, a lot of the work, the support that's been provided by development programs, as we've heard in the last couple of hours, is focused very much on export markets. But it's really critical now that we look to also extend the impacts of this to have much more impact on domestic production and consumption and food safety for local markets. And that's particularly important as we move to more added value at the point of source, processing at source, which has a whole new set of food safety challenges, as we heard from the testimonies today. So COLEACP, we have our current Fit for Market SPS program. And as Jeremy mentioned at the beginning, we have a new and upcoming Fit for Market Plus program, both again funded by the OACPS and the European Union. And we're delighted to say that we have this new program that the funding has just been announced for the coming years. We remain very committed to working in ACP countries, of course, very much so supporting and working with the Caribbean horticulture industry, and where we will be working to address these food safety as well as other challenges. So thank you again to all the participants, the panelists, and of course to IICA for this very fruitful collaboration. I wish you all a very nice day and evening, and I'd like to end by, of course, wishing Ina very well and the best of happiness in her retirement, but I'm sure our paths will cross again soon. So thank you very much, everybody, and good evening.
Thank you, Morag, and thank you for stepping, as usual, in the last minute, and we value very much your competence and experience. I sympathize a bit with some of the chat because there is somebody from Chad. We're saying it starts to be late here. I have to say that I'm in Brussels, it's 6:13 p.m., but in Kenya and elsewhere is 8:13 p.m. and 8 in the evening, and they are connected and following us. So really, thank you so much. This is really, as Morag has just said, we value very much this interest and active participation. Tania, I think you forgot. You don't have anything else to add, right? Or...
Yeah, I have a small thing to add.
So very quickly, before I'm thrown out by the interpreters.
So this I really need to say this towards my colleagues in this forum. COLEACP has some great trainings. We participating during the time of COVID when everybody was on lockdown. We did many of these trainings, and I can really tell them, reach out to COLEACP, market access, training, participation in fairs, etc. It was really valuable to us. I really needed to say this.
Thank you very much. We are very complementary with IICA and others, and together indeed the access to markets and to the EU, especially, as I heard that many of you are interested, and beyond the UK, of course. Please, we will collaborate with IICA and others to do that. So we will have more sessions to come, more discussions. This is again just the beginning of it. Now I would love to give the floor to Ena, because unfortunately in the current capacity as IICA staff, you know, sometimes age, even if it doesn't look like, you know, is there, and I'm not worried at all. She mentioned before that we know each other for a few decades, so I'm not worried at all for Ena, because she has the resource, the creativity, the energy of reinventing herself, you know, on any type of job she has to do. Not only she does it well, she does it very pleasantly. She's one of the most pleasant and professional colleagues I had in different capacities. We have done many things together, completely different, and it has always been, Ena, a great pleasure. You know that, so let me repeat it. But of course, I wish you the very, very best in your next step. I'm sure that the world is too small. This world is too small, you know, not to meet each other and keep in touch. And everybody has said they want to keep in touch with you, so you will have no choice. But again, I just, on a personal, beyond COLEACP and Jeremy and Morag, I've told you, but on a personal note, thank you very much for all. You know how much I appreciate you, and I really wish you the very best. Yes, and please, if you have anything to add as the last speaker for today.
I just want to say thanks for the outpouring of love and all the wonderful tributes. This has been such an exciting journey for me in IICA over the last 19 years. And this relationship with COLEACP is so fruitful. We have had hundreds of registrations for each session, and I am sure it will continue. And as we develop projects together with COLEACP, this is going to really have an impact on SMEs, on agribusiness right across the region. The South-South partnerships have been amazing. Thank you to all the African countries joining. And we've had countries, we've had France, Costa Rica, Canada, USA. Somebody from Texas has joined. Omar from Burkina Faso asked me, please to give a shout out to Burkina Faso. So Omar, this is it. Let me say thanks to everyone. I will still be around. So looking forward to new relationships, new opportunities with a lot of enthusiasm. Take care. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for staying the course. I know, as Isolina said, for some of you it's late in the evening, but you're still here. Thanks to our excellent presenters. Over the last 4 sessions, we have showcased 16 SMEs. Thanks to my IICA team in the Caribbean, who have worked very hard to offer, to identify persons and to also share the information and network or the promotion for this series that we've started so wonderfully, and that will continue. Thanks to my dear friend, Isolina. We've had a lot of fun, done a lot of hard work together, and it's been a wonderful journey. Thanks again to everyone. Thanks to Axel, Gaita, COLEACP team, Jeremy, Morag, everyone. Take care, stay safe, and have a wonderful Christmas.
Thank you. The best to all of you. And thanks to the interpreters. Thank you very much for not have cut off the micros.
Yes.
Axel, Gaëtan, I see Sandra, your colleagues, IICA. It's true, there are many people behind the scenes, you know. That's the, yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So successful.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All the best, Tina. All the best.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.